And welcome to the Breakfast Blend with Mac and Morgan. I'm Mac.
And I'm Morgan.
Games, news, coffee. In today's episode, we have the Bethesda marketing VP says that gamers need to just figure out that Day 1 DLC is not a bad thing. The BioWare co-founder, Greg, hope I'm saying it correctly, Zeshuk, doesn't see that the next generation of hardware is going to be that big a deal. Sony wants more than shooters on their new system. Dark Souls 2 will be streamlined, but still difficult as hell. Disney Infinite wants to make their game basically a giant toy box for you. And a California senator comes out against gun violence in games yet again. Alright, so, first one. Bethesda argues in favor of Day 1 DLC. So, the marketing VP, Pete Hines, says that gamers just don't understand what goes on in development and that they shouldn't really be upset about Day 1 DLC. Now, in his defense, I will say, yeah, for the most part, he's right. When he's talking about DLC, like actual content. Okay, here's what he says. Essentially, the game goes into it finishes development and then goes into the final stages of prepping it for release. So it goes gold and all that. So they have to test it, to get all the bugs out, get it ready to be sold to us. And in that time frame, all those people who are making content aren't involved in that. So why not have them stay busy doing something, making content for the game, which is less than a whole game, and they already have all of the game engine and everything in place. So those couple months between the completion of the game and the release of the game, they can potentially come up with more content that will be ready at the same time, because it doesn't have to go through the same process and it doesn't have to be physically produced. It just becomes downloadable. My personal take: Day 1 DLC, such as fixes, repairing the game in some way. You know, every time you put in a fucking game,
it's gonna be there.
It is. It's consoles are now basically like PCs used to be. As soon as it comes out, there's all kinds of shit that you need to download just to make it work properly. I'm okay with that. In fact, I'm glad. Some people would say maybe that it gives them a little more leeway, and maybe they don't make the game. They don't put as much effort into making sure it works before they send it, because fuck it, we'll just, we'll put something out before they get it, and then you can't play it unless you can't play it, but you can't play online unless you download the shit. I don't agree though that Day 1 DLC should be legitimate content. Like, I don't think that there should be a whole new section of the game that I can download unless it's free, because I just bought your fucking game.
Right.
What do you think?
You end up paying for it twice eventually. I mean, you just keep buying and buying and buying, and you feel like you're missing out on something if you don't. So Absolutely. It kind of forces you to buy all of this content that you get bored with by the time you're done.
And my headset doesn't work, so I can't even join in now. Help me out. Momentary pause. Nope, left. Next one over. Left, the one that had. There you go. And, okay, I can hear myself. This is much better. Okay, so, yes, you continue to purchase, and you do eventually buy the game again. Now, okay, maybe that's not such a bad thing a year down the road. You know, you continue to get more content, and a year later you've basically paid for the game twice, but I don't think that would be necessarily bad if that means that I get twice as much content.
Right.
But now that begs the question: what is a fair price for DLC? If you say that, say you make a game like Skyrim, perfect example. That game is fucking huge. Okay, they spent all this time making this game. It's immense. Then they release content for it. The Dawnguard content, pretty good, but it's only going to take you like 6 to 10 hours if you really go through it to finish that, which is still a significant amount of time. But as compared to the game itself, like, I paid $60 for the game, and I can get hundreds of hours out of it if I go through every damn thing. Then you release a little bit of content for like $15, 1/4 of the game. If I'm paying for a quarter of the game, shouldn't I get a quarter of the content? Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm off the mark. But I mean, look at like what should be the defining quality? What should it be? If you buy Angry Birds, it's $1. How many hours do you think people spend playing Angry Birds? You know? But then I have games that I love from Kairosoft that are like Game Dev Story, Hot Springs Story, Mega Mall Story, all this thing. And I spend much more time than... I don't even play Angry Birds. Do you play Angry Birds?
No.
Nothing against it. I just don't care for that. It's just the repetitive, I just got to beat a score. Not for me. But I love the strategy of the Kairosoft games. But I got to pay $4 for that. Now, I don't get nearly as much content out of that as someone does, or I guess enjoyment or time playing, as someone does playing Angry Birds, and I'm paying 4 times as much. I personally think that I think the Kairosoft games are a little overpriced at $4. Mm-hmm. I think any app, really, when I'm sitting there with my phone and it dies after how long, I don't really feel that any of that should be $4. But
and it's something you don't really own. I mean, on a cell phone device, you don't really own that.
Oh, like not a physical thing?
You're just renting it, for a certain amount of time until your phone dies or till...
Right, I am glad that brings up my issue with like downloadable games that they have on Microsoft and PlayStation. It's not a physical copy; it's on a hard drive. If something goes wrong, I like that I can still download it again. But there is, and this may just be a holdover from coming from a different era, but the idea of relying on someone else to maintain a server with the data in case something goes wrong on my end, that I can download it from them, that there's something about that. That's why I try to avoid downloading whole games. Mm-hmm. I still want a physical copy, and maybe that's going away. But back to the main point is the DLC. If it's day one, what do you feel is justified as a day one download? Not to put you on the spot.
No, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure how I feel about it. As a day one.
Let's see. 38 Studios made Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning. That game is, honestly, I was surprised at how big that game is, and it's disappointing that they went under and yada yada. But the downloadable content was also significant, comparable to like Dragonborn on Skyrim, which again, also that one was like, I believe, $20. But that's like a whole new campaign, a whole new area. Again, not as much as the main game. Mm-hmm. So maybe $20 is a bit excessive for that. I didn't pay that for it. I got it on sale. And I feel I paid $10 for it, and I feel that is a fair price for that amount of content. Now, I know that we don't get to dictate that, but what I think that this guy's saying that we should understand that it's not like they're trying to rape us. That it's just, hey, we had the opportunity to make more stuff, and then we give it to you. You should be happy. And I agree, but if you're the VP of marketing, maybe you should have a better grasp of how people feel about value for their dollar. And if you're going to give us new shit, as soon as we buy it, you either just give it to us, or maybe you wait a week or two.
Yeah.
Why not use it to generate a continued interest in your
game? Longevity in the game.
So bring it out 3 weeks later. Then people who weren't sure if they were going to buy it, now they read the reviews and they bought it, and then they get it, and then a week later, holy shit, there's some new content for it. This is awesome.
Well, with Skyrim, you said you own Skyrim. Is the DLC keeping you... You played it through the original game, right?
Yeah, not all of it, but
did you receive?
I beat
it. Did you receive the DLC before?
They didn't bring out DLC for quite a while, and
I find it distracting from the original campaign. You know what I mean? It pulls me away to where I'm wasting time with the DLC rather than, investing all my time into the original campaign.
And that's an interesting perspective because I tend to feel the opposite, where I feel like if I actually finish the campaign, then I almost never want to play the additional content.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I already know the story. Like, even with Skyrim, I beat the main course of the game, but I never finished this one path where you become a thief, and I didn't finish the Dark Brotherhood where you're an assassin, that quest. I finished the Civil War, everything else I did, but I didn't do these two things, And I was holding off on it because I was really into the actual story. For once, I was actually interested in getting to the end. Whereas the previous game, Oblivion, still haven't beaten that. I have done everything else in that game. And I found that because I played all that other shit all the way to completion, that by the time I was done with that, I really didn't care about the main story. It was like, I've seen everything there is here. And it's like, oh, you're going to make me go to these same places again? And I was just done. So when Skyrim came out, I tried to do the other direction. And so I'm still interested in these additional things, but now it kind of feels like it's over.
Yeah, are you chomping at the bit to play Oblivion now?
The previous one? That's the previous one.
Oh, okay.
It went Oblivion and then Skyrim. I do want to play Skyrim. Honestly, I'm interested in these two downloadable contents that I have, the Dawn Guard and the Dragonborn. But the thing that really has me interested is this stupid Hearthfire thing that lets you make your own house. That's it. That's really what I want. I was pissed through the whole game that I had to go where they told me for my houses, and they could only have certain things in it. Now you can actually build it. And you could chop wood originally in the game. You could chop wood, but there was no purpose to it. It didn't, like, improve a skill. You didn't collect the wood to do anything, and it like...
You just waste time chopping wood?
Yeah, I believe there was, like... I think it did something, but then there was, like, cooking, and, like, you could cook your own food with these elements, but you make these meals, it's not even worth it. It's so... The benefits that they give you, it's not worth the effort, and there's no skill to improve. You just make the shit. So, but alchemy lets you make a potion that you can toss down. You know exactly what that's going to do for how long, and you can carry those. I mean, you could carry the food, but the payoff was so minuscule that I was like, fuck this, I'm not cooking. Get a woman to do that.
Yeah.
My house, Carl, she was a chick, but she wouldn't cook. And she kept dying. But so anyway, the content that has brought me back is simply my ability to create something, sort of a Minecraft aspect. The story part is interesting, and I will do it, and I will be interested, because what they did now with this Dragonborn, it was brilliant. I feel like it is a continuation of the story. So now, I want to go in, finish the other shit, and then roll into the Dragonborn. Yeah. So that was a great way to do it. But, let's bring it back around. Original point, Day 1 DLC... I don't care that you were capable of it, Mr. Hines. And I know that the game... Like, I'm a gamer. I understand the concept. I don't think that I should be paying additional monies immediately. And again, I know I don't have to. But as soon as you boot it up, like, they're already hammering you with, like...
updates.
Go to the downloadable content. Check out the marketplace. See what's here. Little pop-ups and shit like that. Just let me play your fucking game. I just got it.
Right.
Can we do this for a while? Then... Again, this is just a goodwill thing. Go ahead and wait. What is this desperate need to cash in? Is that really necessary? So, okay. We're just going to move on. So, the co-founder of BioWare, Dr. Greg Zeshuk, doesn't feel that the upcoming console generation is really that big a deal. What do you think?
It better be a big deal. That's why if this is going to be coming out at $500, even $300, it better be something different.
But then what is something different? I guess I think that may be the point he's making. And I think we're still operating, at least partially, under the old model, where it was like, we went from the Atari to the NES. Like, that was, the difference was staggering.
Right.
The difference between playing Asteroids and Zelda is just
that's
off the
huge,
charts.
yeah.
So that was huge. Then you went to the next generation and continued like that. However, really the only difference in the game making from the previous generation and this one is just it looks a little better. It loads a little faster. Grand Theft Auto 4, in my opinion, was not any kind of massive improvement over Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Mm-hmm. And they were made for two different generations. In fact, I actually like San Andreas more, but that's kind of an outlier. I understand that's a little different. But maybe the new model isn't necessarily more power. Because we've clearly demonstrated that there is a market for mobile gaming. browser gaming, the apps, like these smaller games are making as much or more.
Right.
So, and then with the last generation, I think like the biggest improvement that they made was the online capabilities. Like finally, I really felt like I could play a game with other people, and the marketplace was helpful. And then they had to connect. Everybody had a version of motion sensing, which really went nowhere for anyone other than Nintendo. But it was potential. But so, is that really what we see as the next generation? Should it just be, hey, it looks even more real? Does that matter, really, in the end?
No, it doesn't matter to me, because I want my game to look like a game. I've said that before. I want it to be a game. I don't want it to be, real guys running around.
Yeah, that really doesn't appeal to me. Like, that makes no difference to me. And honestly, particularly given high-def screens, like, I remember when I first played Gears of War, like, I looked at it, I'm like, okay, this is really impressive looking, but then playing it, I'm like, it's actually kind of distracting, and it's just an overload. You can barely tell the difference between some things because everything is so overly detailed. I don't really need that. I like, given the choice between Gears of War and Zelda Wind Waker that looks like a cartoon, I'm going to go with Wind Waker. Just because I feel more like it's a story being told rather than me watching a movie.
Right. Well, with, what was it, L.A. Noire, with the facial recognition, I understand that it was part of the game that helped you along.
Yeah, figuring out the interrogations.
But I don't want to sit there and look at somebody's face and
just them
study
talking.
I want to play a game.
Right.
Come on.
I'll watch a movie if that's exactly. But I guess then that really boils down to what is it that makes a game for you? And no one's going to answer that the same as someone else. What is the type of game that I want to play? So I kind of agree with him. It doesn't really matter that we got 4 times the processor speed. I appreciate more RAM just so that I have less load times. But on the flip side of that, I want a solid state hard drive in these fucking machines. I'm tired of all these things failing because they're spinning the disc. That's how I lost my first 2 360s and one of my PlayStations was it just couldn't. It's constantly streaming from the disc. Now you can load stuff onto the hard drive, but it still has to be loaded. If you made that a solid state drive, I'm getting that information instantly, and I can run around Grand Theft Auto without any hiccups.
Yeah.
So okay, the next piece is that Sony wants more than first-person shooters on their new system. So they had a little press conference where the major demo that they showed to everybody was not a first-person shooter, much to everybody's surprise, but a game called Knack that was more... Looked awesome. Honestly, that's exactly what you're talking about right there.
Yeah.
Is that looks like a game.
Right.
Still beautiful, and it's still almost photorealistic within the media that it is. It was a puzzler and an action adventure, like all that stuff. But I wanted to play it just watching that. And their tagline at the end was that Sony, the creative console, which I think is funny. That's basically the opposite direction of what Xbox was doing with this current generation. They wanted to be the home of the hardcore gamer. And now Sony's like, all right, you can have them. And we're going to go after all the other people.
Right.
It looks like
there is a market for both. So
there really is. It feels like they're kind of trying to split the difference between the 360 Call of Duty hardcore and the Wii casual market. Get right in the middle, which honestly, I think that's really me.
Yeah.
Right there. And I am not a huge fan of the PS3 just because I don't care for the networking. But they may get me with this. If they really push this and they put some value behind this, I would...
I think they may convert a lot of people over,
Yeah, I think, we grew up with geeks played gaming consoles. It wasn't until Madden, and really the PlayStation, when the PlayStation was really pushing the sports, that suddenly it became mainstream, and it was okay to play a video game. Prior to that was like some weird geeky thing you did in the back of your room practically in your closet if you could do it, just so nobody knew that you were a gamer, because that was just such an awful. Just the moniker was terrible. Everybody was like, "Oh, don't call me a gamer. I'm not a gamer. I play video games." Like I remember people having that literal conversation. "I'm not a gamer. I play video games sometimes." I'm like, okay, you're right. The subtlety is distinct. But this, I don't feel that the concept of gamer as a hardcore gamer, which I don't even. What the hell is that anyway? You know, which. You know what? That leads quite well into the next piece, which is that Dark Souls 2 is going to be more streamlined, but don't worry, hardcore gamers. It's not going to be any less difficult. That the things that they mentioned is the streamlining is like they're going to make it possible for you to jump around to different areas sooner in the game. In this, in the previous, the first Dark Souls, which is the sequel to Demon Souls,
which is on the PSN right now. Demon Souls, I believe.
Should be cheap. I mean, that thing dropped to nothing almost immediately.
I think it was like 4 something.
I have it downstairs. Would love to play it. Would love to play it. And the more I see these things, the more I just want to get in there and do it. But I never beat the first one. I got right up to the end, got my ass kicked, and loved the game, but it was just... You spent so much time getting there that it just didn't really feel worth it anymore. I enjoyed it, but it is as the hardcore as they say. Like, you die constantly. But that's the point, is it's an educational experience as opposed to just painful. Like, there's those games, they call them roguelikes, which are like dungeon crawlers that are brutal. And they're not very complex. Like, they're not stunning graphics or anything. They're like a top-down. They're very simplified visually. And really the whole point is you just go into a dungeon space, and... in I think the bulk of them, your movement, you can only take so many actions per space, and you either run out of energy or whatnot, and your conflict with other people or creatures, every one of them is a life-threatening situation for real. So they're just, oh my god, mind-numbingly difficult. But there is a true sense of accomplishment when you get somewhere. But they're so brutal, most of the time, they kill you and send you back with nothing. You lose it all.
I hate that.
And that's kind of rough for some people. They had an element of that in Demon Souls. You still kept your equipment when you died, but you lost all of the souls that you had collected, which that was money. That was it. Which is something else that I would like to bring up at some point. Is the number of fucking currencies and shit that you have to collect in games is just off the charts anymore. But the Demon Souls, that was a great concept, because if you got back to your body, you could still collect them all. So if you got there fast enough and gathered up the souls, you got them all back. Of course, typically, if you got to where you were when you died, you were probably about to die again as well. You know, so there's a little balance there. But so the hardcore gamer loves the Dark Souls. So apparently, the big bitch is that we have drifted so far away from what games were about that we've made them too mainstream and too easy to try and get everybody involved. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I enjoy that. I like Demon Souls, but I enjoy that in bites. I like that there is Demon Souls and there's the occasional roguelike that you can play. I like FTL. It's a space-based kind of one. You would probably like if you... Now, you would hate it, actually, because it's like a real-time or turn-based strategy. Never mind. So anyway, I know that's not your thing. I like it in segments. Give it to me once in a while, and I'm all about it. I do not think that needs to be the market. I'm sorry. I like that when I hide behind cover, I recover my health.
Yeah.
Okay? I think that was the best thing to happen to first-person shooters.
Absolutely.
Going down on record for that. Been playing first-person shooters since they were invented, and I am sick to death of scrounging for little white boxes with red crosses on them.
Yeah.
Oh, it is not helpful to me in a gameplay sense. And nothing is worse than in those situations dying somewhere. Your game save, your automatic game save is like just prior to that. You've already collected all the shit, and you can't get more health. And all you're going to do is come back with this little sliver of health to get your ass handed to you by whatever boss you were just at. So that whole concept is out the window. I can actually go ahead and complete the game. I don't have to restart this whole fucking level to go through it. And again, it really just comes down to why are you playing a game? You know? And I'm not knocking if you want to play games like that, that's your thing. That's your thing then. Do it. But don't accuse people that that's not their thing of being non-gamers. Okay? I love that thing. You come to my house and you try and tell me that I'm not a gamer. You come in here, take a look at what's going on.
Yeah. You're a gamer. You walk in my house, you're going to tell me I'm not a gamer with my 5 games sitting on my shelf.
Right. It is a mindset. We enjoy playing. If you enjoy playing a video game, you're a gamer. That's it.
That's how I feel about it, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to try any game that's out there.
Yeah, give it a shot. It doesn't mean that you're going to love everything. And that's really what it all boils down to. It's just a bunch of children bitching that if you don't like what they like, then you're not one of them.
Yeah.
So you know what? Whatever. Go fuck yourselves. We're moving on.
I hate kids anyways.
So, Disney Infinite, the upcoming game from Disney that is essentially a mashup of Little Big Planet and Skylanders, is trying to position itself essentially as, what do they call it? I think that it's a giant toy box for gamers. Now, if you're not familiar with Little Big Bit, if you're not familiar with Little Big Planet 1 or 2, basic concept is side scroller that as you go through it, you unlock the elements of the game itself, the building blocks of the game, which you can then use to create your own levels. Great idea.
I love the game. It's my Sunday morning
go-to really?
game. Yeah, it wakes me up slowly.
It's adorable.
I enjoy it.
If I'm allowed to say that, it is adorable. My only problem is I cannot believe that they called that character Sackboy.
Yeah,
that's
that
still every
awkward.
time I see that, I'm like, okay, clearly you really did mean this for kids because no adult wants to play as Sackboy. But great character design. All the elements of the game are awesome. I tried the level builder, but I tried doing it before I had unlocked much, and I had seen like people recreating levels of Zelda.
Yeah,
like I was like, holy crap, that's
Mario.
awesome. Yeah, I wanted to do that, and then I found out that you can't until you actually play through the game and get the shit, and that was a big disappointment to me. For all I know, they've changed it since then. In some content release, they just unlock everything so you can just build. But it's too late for me.
And it's very time consuming to sit there.
That is true as well. Interacting with a controller does make it take quite a bit longer. I mean, but any active creation really takes... I've been playing with this, a 2D game engine, just trying to see what that's all about. Oh my god.
Sounds awesome.
Oh yeah. Seriously, the amount of time that it goes from starting a new project to actually just making anything on the screen happen, holy shit. But I'm glad that I'm making the attempt. It gives me a better appreciation of what these people go through. And I'm not even coding. This is drag and drop bullshit. Like, those guys who are actually scripting, I love all of you. Thank you for being out there and making games for me, because I can't. But the Little Big Planet concept that they're incorporating into the Disney is very much the same, except what it looks like is, well, one, it's 3D. Beautiful. The game is fucking beautiful. Like, really, you really do feel like you are in a Disney reality. Which, that right there is the only reason I give even a tiny shit about this game. Because if it did not have the Disney properties, I wouldn't care. That's really what it boils down to. If this was just some generic game maker thing, I would not be invested. I know that I'm not going to spend the time it takes to make levels and do all these things. I got too much to do. I wish that I could. It would be neat to, make some level that everybody loves and rises up the charts and everybody downloads it. Sure, that's the dream. Not something I'm going to do. But the ability to use elements of Disney movies, particularly some of my favorites like Tron. Yeah. Fucking kidding me?
Right.
Hell yeah. I want some Tron action in there. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean. That stuff's in there. But they all gave it like a slight cartoonish toy kind of bent, which is nice.
But better than the Lego games?
Yes. They really do look like a 5-inch figure, sculpted figure that comes to life. So that's a nice look.
Deal with that.
It's a great mix, and it makes it possible to have Jack Sparrow hang out with fucking Buzz Lightyear,
right, without
having it look wacky. But excuse me, the attempt to incorporate the Skylander element is where they begin to piss me off. You Skylanders, you know this. The game Skylanders, where you buy extra figures. Okay. I get it as a marketing ploy. Fucking awesome. Seriously,
Yeah, that is awesome.
Holy shit. But as a gameplay factor, I don't like that there's achievements tied to owning like all of one. Like in Skylanders, if you own all of the fire creatures, except you can't buy them all at once.
Right.
You have to buy them in 3 packs or buy them individually, where then it costs an arm and a leg.
Right.
And it's a nightmare for parents. I have Skylanders in the house. We don't have every single one, But what I don't like is keeping content from someone playing the game because they don't have a little toy. I'm okay with like locking off an area, like they did that in Skylanders. Like there's whole play areas that you don't even see, you can't get near unless you buy this little play set and hook the thing up, and then you can, and that's okay for me. That's okay, but not having all these characters to play as, that gets a little...
Yeah.
I don't know. It's too expensive.
It's basically the same as DLC, but just in a physical form.
Exactly. And that's precisely it. And they continue to release more than they have Skylanders Giants now.
God.
And, and you can use your previous one. Okay, but here's my ultimate issue is, this is where it really becomes a problem. I understand the argument that you don't have to buy this shit. You can play through all of Skylanders with just the 3 characters that it comes with, but you're going through the whole thing and they show you these little areas that you can't access because you don't have a creature that has the same affinity as that reality that you want to go into. So that, and let's be honest, that's just to make the kids go, Mom, I need this.
Right. Let's go to Walmart, Mom.
And I think that's kind of shitty. I understand
that shitty.
You want to make money, and that's what people are
They're
about.
They're just fishing in the game.
Exactly. It really is 30-hour commercial. It's essentially what that is. Yeah. And even like in Skylanders, it wasn't really even all that fun. Like, I realized playing it, because the kids played it and then they got bored. So I tried it out, and you really just, all you do is collect shit to make your little creature more powerful so that you can go to new places and collect more shit to make it more powerful. I'm like, this is not, and the story is not good. There's good voice acting, but it's not worth it. So now we got Disney, where they're going to have much better production values, but I'm listening to this guy talk, and he said, okay, first problem is, if you can make levels and give them to other people, apparently, if you use shit that you bought, other people can't use your level. Like, he dodges the question completely. He literally just changes the whole question and answers an entirely different question, which to me says, if somebody buys content and they make a level that uses it, you're not going to be able to interact with it the same way because you don't own that shit. He does say that if it is an item that is unlockable within the game, which is the little Big Planet style, that people will be able to interact with your level, but they won't be able to unlock those things until they do it themselves.
That seems fair.
I mean, that is fair. So let me play the level and enjoy it, but don't deny me the ability if I didn't buy your shit.
Right.
Which, maybe he just dodged it because he thought he was answering it differently. Because, like, thinking about it now, like, that would cause such a huge rift in the level making and playing community. Because it's like it would be like Nintendo, when they released the original Nintendo, they all came with light guns. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it was Duck Hunt and
right.
Super Mario.
That was it.
Like, you had to have that damn controller in order to play that game. So everybody was able... You cannot release something... Okay, let me rephrase that. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Okay? But if you release something that requires an item that people don't have, you've immediately lost a part of your demographic.
Right.
And so I think if it is the case that you can't play those levels without buying that shit, then they're fucked. Because that's going to just cause way too much trouble. It seems more likely that it will be the same as stuff that you can unlock in the game, that you'll be able to see it, but you can't use any of it yourself.
Yeah.
And honestly, that would be the best idea on their part. It continues the commercial concept. Wait, I saw this thing on this level. How do I get it, Mom?
Right.
Well, apparently I have to buy it. So the other side of this coin, though, as much as I think it's an interesting concept, and it makes kids creative, it's all that. It really feels like it's all just a really pretty dressing around a fucking commercial. They're stealing the Skylander concept and then justifying it after the fact is really what it feels like.
Yeah.
Because he also says that what they're going to do is they're going to tie in-game events to Disney activities. So that, I guarantee you, every time Disney releases a fucking movie, there's going to be some little in-game event. And there's going to be something that you either have to buy and even if you don't have to buy it, it's still just a giant marketing machine.
Right.
Delivered directly into your children's cerebral cortex.
Constantly.
You go into a game to play your game, and they just assault you with some new little level that they've just added to the game as downloadable content. Like, I was okay playing Fight Night. I remember when there would be ads for games coming out and shit on the floor of the ring. I actually thought that was kind of cool. It made it feel a little more real, and I don't have to buy that shit. It didn't.
Right.
But coming at me like that at my kids, no. That's over the top. So, the final piece that we have here is the California senator. I don't want to misquote her or in any way run the risk of offending this obviously influential lawmaker. So she is a congresswoman from California, and her name is... Oh, I'm sorry. She is a senator. Oh, shit, I'm getting sued. Democratic California senator. Her name is Dianne Feinstein, I believe. Again, I'm not certain how you should pronounce things, so don't be mad at me if I butcher your name. At least I know that you have one. She has apparently said, and this is a direct quote from her, I think the really violent video game becomes a kind of simulator to practice on, and it enables the individual to become much more familiar with that depiction of death and blood. Now, she said this on MSNBC. Now, she immediately followed up that statement with, of course, it's not the way it is in real life. Okay, come down on one side, Dianne.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Senator. Okay. How do you feel? Tell me what you think, violence in games. Where are you coming from?
I could see how it could desensitize kids to,
to
killing.
that level.
Yeah.
Do you
it all
think-
depends on the person and how they see things.
Do you think that a kid would become a murderer from playing a violent game? Tough call, right?
Yeah. On one side, I mean, it's a possibility given the child's mental state.
Right, and that I think is what is the real thing. Is it may. I'm not going to say that it won't. It may push a kid over the edge, but and you're buzzing. Do we need to take a break?
We need to take a break.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with violence in video games. You're listening to The Breakfast Club. And welcome back to The Breakfast Blend. We left you discussing violence in games, and we're not going to stop. Okay, so we finished saying that recap. Senator Dianne says that violent games are murder simulators. She doesn't say it like that because that's clearly too cliche and everyone's just going to write her off. So instead, now it's a simulator to practice on. Now, we were going with, at least my perspective, was that it might push a kid over the edge, potentially, if he already has that tendency. I don't believe that a normal person is going to be convinced to murder people by playing the game.
No.
I do agree with you on the desensitization. I mean that's true in general, but why is she not bitching about Law and Order and CSI teaching criminals how to get away with it?
Right.
Where's that? Where's that outrage? Okay?
Yeah.
Because there is literally, I don't know where this came, it was this past month or so, some twins in Brazil or Portugal, I don't even know. They weren't in this country, so it doesn't matter anymore. Geography is meaningless outside of the United States. But these twins were committing some kind of crime, but only one of them, and so they can't convict them because genetically they're identical. All the DNA evidence means, and that was a fucking episode of Law and Order SVU. I actually remembered that, and I remembered seeing that. I'm like, nah, that's bullshit. No, that's true. And I think that was actually an episode of, I think, Castle recently as well. So anyway, that's a recurring theme. So now, oh my God, we must fear all twins because they will become sociopaths because now they know they can get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So clearly I don't necessarily agree with her stance that violent games make people violent. However, there is some merit in the argument that the desensitization makes it easier for someone with violent tendencies to act out those fantasies. Now, that's as far as I'm willing to go on violent games. I mean, I have 2 kids in the house, and I'm a little reluctant to let them play.
Well, isn't that the thing? These are adult games. Why are they in the hands of 12-year-olds that are trying to form their personalities?
That is true. I mean, you really can't keep things out of... Like, there's always going to be some douchebag parent that doesn't pay attention, and their kid has something awful. Or that they own it for themselves. Like, I own some shit that I would never let my kids play. You know, like... I shouldn't say that I would never. But at this age, I certainly don't want them playing Grand Theft Auto. Any of them. Not because I think they're going to turn into violent felons, but just that they would feel that it's okay to talk to people that way and to interact with other people in, you know, a more aggressive manner.
Love hookers and pills.
Well, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with that. Hookers need love too. And so there's a game, Sniper. Is it Sniper Elite version 2? I can't remember. It's the Sniper series, but it's set in World War II. And I'll be honest with you, this is essentially murder porn. I think it's, which maybe this says something about me. I think it's pretty awesome.
You love the game.
You're a sniper, and you shoot and kill people. That would be fine. But...
For the greater good?
I supposedly. But here's where it crosses into the pornography, is that when you shoot someone, it slows down the bullet, and suddenly the person becomes see-through. And you can see, like, if you shoot them in the head, you see their skull.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
In an X-ray. And then you see the bullet penetrate, and you see the way their head, like the physics in slow-mo of them actually snapping backwards from that. And I'm like, it's over the top, but sometimes it's really fucking awesome. But do I think that our 13-year-old daughter should be playing that? No. Also, I'm not really even sure that it needs to exist. Let's be honest.
I want it to. I want to play this game now.
It's not art in any sense, but there is something extremely visceral. But that seriously sounds like it says something about us as a culture, that we are that fascinated with something of that nature. Because that's really, really fucking pushing it, you know? Now, I played BioShock Infinite this past week, and that is a beautiful game. And I felt that it was incredibly out of context. For you could swing this weapon on your arm. You'd hit a guy in the head who was like right in front of you, and you would basically like cleave off a chunk of his skull, or maybe just crushed it so bad. But you couldn't tell because all they did was just make a big red hole with this giant arterial spray of blood. Which, right there, there's really not that much blood going on right there.
Yeah.
But these guys are gouting these fountains of red. Just a geyser erupts from his head. But I was like, when I first saw that, like it just brought me out of the game. I'm like, I'm not against violence. I'm just like, that had nothing to do with it. I didn't need that. You know, I like it better when we treat the shooting of people more like rubber bullets or paintballs, you know? Like, it hits them in the shoulder and that throws that away. You shoot them in the leg and they go down. But I don't need to see that leg shatter into, you know, tiny little gibbets and then, like, dragging the bloody stump as they still pursue you. Like, that's not necessary. There are certainly times where that would play in a narrative sense, like some deranged monster that feels no pain, and that would really drive home just how awful what has been done to this guy is and how unstoppable he is. So that could serve a purpose in that sense. But when every fucking guy I deal with just explodes with shit, like, I'm just like, I just don't need it. It doesn't help me.
Yeah.
Like the Gears of War, like when you buzzsaw a dude and just like blood just covers the screen. I'm like, ugh. So, okay, she has a point. We do kind of glorify the violence. But she's referencing this kid in Connecticut who took out these children in the school. And that was fucking awful. Yeah, and I think nothing could have been better than if his mother had actually shot him first,
right,
before any of this went down.
Right.
I'm not going to say anything about what could be done to prevent it, because I don't know how you could find people before they do some shit like this. And I would hate to think that they become these people from playing games. I don't think that's true. I think this kid would have eventually done something.
Right.
Even if he had been isolated from all violent content. You know, serial killers don't start out playing Doom. They start out by torturing small animals and fucking with the neighborhood kids and peeing their beds and shit like that. Which is not violent, you know, unless you're the one that has to clean it. And so, here's the next piece of this that I wanted to bring up is that, and this is not new news, but it feeds to this, in that the cops got together at a convention. What was it? There's actually something specific. It was like an actual huge discussion. The International Association of Police Chiefs and Colonels. So, cops got together and they discussed this event in Connecticut. And now here's where things start to get a little strange. They discovered that he had a list, like an Excel spreadsheet, that had the names of mass murderers, the specific weapon they used in their crimes, and the number of people they killed. Now, so clearly, this kid had an agenda. Like, this wasn't random, none of that shit. He had clearly been preparing. But what the police took from this was that and this is the quote, "This was the work of a video gamer, and that it was his intent to put his own name at the very top of that list. They believe that he picked an elementary school because he felt it was a point of least resistance where he could rack up the greatest number of kills." Second part of that statement, very true. It was a soft target. He would definitely, there would be little to no resistance from his victims. There would be a plethora of victims that wouldn't know how to get away or what to do. They would be following the lead of whoever was there. Right. Which is awful that he
Women and children.
Yeah. You know? I mean, absolutely insane. The kid clearly was pathological. My issue with this is that somehow indicates that he's a video gamer. It says that he wanted to get points. Like that. No, he wanted to be famous. He wanted to be the guy that had done the most. Mm-hmm. Okay? And if you want to say that someone trying to get to the top of the charts that's a mindset exclusive to video games, you're a fucking idiot. Okay? Because nobody wants to sell the most records, nobody wants the most home runs, nobody wants the most assists or rebounds or touchdowns or passes received or interceptions, none of that shit. So nobody who keeps a list of that matters. It's only because of it being dead people that it must be games. Mm-hmm. Not, I don't know, someone who decided that they wanted to write a book, you know, or they idolized Billy the Kid and they wanted to outdo him. Like, there's 100 scenarios.
Right.
This is a case of police changing the facts to fit the theory, which is utter bullshit. And here's where you know they don't know what the fuck they're talking about when they say that they believe that the shooter believed. Okay, so you're profiling a dead guy.
Yeah.
And so all of this is speculative anyway, but that it was the way to pick up the easiest points. It's why he didn't want to be killed by law enforcement, because in the code of a gamer, even a deranged gamer like this little bastard, if somebody else kills you, they get your points. No! That is not the code of a gamer.
Right.
Like, that is... I don't... Okay. Okay. I'll get here. Now... This is how I know they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because if they really did, what they would have said was that he wanted a perfect kill-death ratio.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that, I would be like, okay, yeah, maybe you might have a point there. And I would not be able to really contest that too much. But you clearly don't know what you're talking about, so you're postulating and you're positing an explanation when you don't have the facts. So I don't believe any of what you've said thus far. Okay? I'm hoping that it was true that he even had that fucking list at this point. But... it's not because he's a gamer. You don't lose your kills. Like, that's not even a factor anymore. There were at one point, yeah, there was the killing some, like, that's King of the Hill style gameplay. And nobody does that anymore. Who fucking cares? And when you killed everybody in Doom in that murder simulator, when the giant cyber demon shot you with the rockets in the face, he didn't suddenly get all your demon kills.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Yes, please figure out why this kid did this. Please figure out how we can stop these awful things from happening in the future. But please base your theories on the facts presented.
Yeah, give us facts.
Not your political agenda. All right, so I'm done with my rant, and that's all that I have for news. You have some PSN stuff, right?
Yeah, I just want to run through a few things here. Last month, the PSN ran a promotional special. If you spent $50 in March, you would now get $10 in April. So get on there.
Every $50 you got $10.
Every $50 you spent, you would get $10 this month, April.
Do you know anyone that spent $50 or more dollars on PSN?
I might have. I'm not really sure.
You did the PS Plus subscription count, do you think? Or was it only content?
I think I bought that in April. It was right around the 1st of April that I bought that.
So you missed it.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, I know. I'm still going to go home and check my inbox.
Right,
though.
of course.
So if you're on the PSN, get home, check your inbox. There may be $10 in there for you.
Or more, if you're one of those people that drops hundreds.
Right, you could have $200 sitting there for you. Battlefield, if you're a fan of Battlefield, on Amazon today, if you go in and pre-order Battlefield 4, you get the Battlefield Premium for $15. Battlefield 3 Premium for $15.
And just want to send a big fuck you to EA and DICE on that one. Honestly, I intend to pick up Battlefield 4, and it would almost be worth it, because $15 for the premium edition would give me, I think, 3 pieces of content that would cost me $45.
Yeah.
And I'd have an extra copy. But I have an extra useless fucking copy of Battlefield 3. Because everybody I know has it.
Right.
Man. The DLC... This reminds me that I wanted to address a comment I made a few shows back about my big fuck you shout out to Gearbox Software. Clearly, I'm basing this on a theme that I told them to go fuck themselves, and that I was going to shit all over them by purchasing all of their downloadable content for a fraction of the cost when it goes on sale. Mm-hmm. And immediately after that statement exited my mouth, I realized I look like a dumbass, because they still win. They would still be laughing all the way to the bank.
Right.
So
you're still spending your money.
Yeah, exactly. They're still getting my money. So I have revised that statement. I know that my dollar means nothing to them, but eventually, perhaps my voice will. And you're raping me with your content. I do not care for the business practice, and that you... I pre-ordered your game and I did not get the item that I was told I would get when I pre-ordered it because then you had released it already. So not only am I never purchasing their downloadable content for this game, I am no longer playing this game.
You're done.
I have boxed it and I have gotten rid of it. I won't even contribute. In fact, I'm trying to find out what is the most awful way that I can use it in the aftermarket. Is there a way that I can... what is the nastiest way that I can give it to GameStop for, like pennies on the dollar they would give me? Like, how do I fuck them in the aftermarket with this game because they've pissed me off so badly? I'm not sure what one copy of the game would do, and I'm not about to go pirating shit. So don't send me any postcards about how to... Postcards. Like anybody does that. No email about how I can rip this game and I'm not going to do any of that kind of shit. But I'm certainly going to protest their actions, and I will not be playing it. And in fact, I think I'm going to have to boycott Gearbox products, which actually won't be hard because their next game, Aliens Colonial Marines, sucked dick. Such an awful game. So I guess kind of in a sense I did win already.
Yeah.
Hey, you shit the bed. Thanks, guys. I'm still not going to buy your shit. All right, so was there anything else on your list?
Borderlands on the PSN.
Oh, really?
For PlayStation Plus. You can get Borderlands 2 for $19.99. You can buy the bundle with Borderlands 1 and 2 for $20.99. And the DLC for Borderlands 1 is $3.49 a piece. So that's what I got right there.
I'm refusing to comment.
That's fine.
Just because. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Breakfast Blend on our Friday edition. I am Mac.
And I'm Morgan.
And we'll catch you next time. Oh, the coffee. I need the coffee. Never enough.
I want to get the second one, but it's $19.99 for the second.
Oh,
for just the second.
You already own the first one.
Yeah.
So